Good morning, Chattanooga. You're listening to Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody with Richardson Group, KW Cleveland on Talk Radio 102.3, The Talk Monster. This is the show that gets you caught up on all things real estate. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, this is the show that you need to be listening to. If you have questions, we have answers. 267-1023 is the number to call or text. You can also find us online at rg423.com, on the Richardson Group YouTube channel. If you have real estate questions you need the answers to, we're here to take those calls for you today, 267-1023, and we are also live on Facebook this morning on the Richardson Group Facebook page. If you happen to have a real estate question that you would like to discuss off the air, call our office at 790-7979, and a member of our team with experienced realtors will be happy to walk you through any of your real estate needs. Good morning, Cindi and Jody. How are you?
What's up?
Good morning, Jack.
Jack's like the voice of the Richardson Group these days. I like it. I like it. Like Casey Kasem over here.
Yeah, well, I have a voice for radio and a face for nothing else. So
I think it's the other way around, right? You have a face for radio. We'll take it.
I have a voice for television and a face for radio. I think that's how that goes.
Yeah, works for me. Works for me. So have you guys had a good week?
We have. It's been eventful.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy. It feels a little full moonish like last week did.
Mm-hmm.
I think as the closer we get to the end of the year, the crazier things start to get a little bit.
Yeah, at some point we're going to have to start Christmas shopping.
Yeah, I think it's been a full moon for the last 6 months.
I'm going to go today. You finished with your Christmas shopping?
No.
Zero. Well, no, I'm lying. I did buy one gift and I hid it, and I can't remember where I put it. So
You'll find it next year.
yeah, one of my kids, may get the same gift twice, and like Cindi said, I'll find it. So maybe the other one will get the same thing, even though he didn't
I
ask
almost
for it.
have me marked off the list.
Good, priorities, right? Priorities. What Sabrina asked for this year, Jack?
Depends on the list.
Depends on the day.
We've got things from reindeers pulling sleighs to
Oh,
roller
easy.
skates to, I can make that happen.
My favorite is the year that Knox, my youngest, do you remember when all he asked for, Cindi, was Taco Bell gift cards?
That's so funny.
I'm not joking.
He would probably be happy with that now.
Probably $250 worth of, he sat on Santa Claus's lap and asked for Taco Bell gift cards. So if nothing else, I've set the bar low expectation-wise, so he'll be pleased. He'll be pleased. But anyway, so what's the plan today? What are we talking about?
It is time. We're actually going to talk about home inspections today.
Good. So we've listed your house and got it under contract and we're moving forward and that's what happens. I know there's just kind of different ways to approach too.
There's several things you can do even when you're listing your home that you can do to go ahead and get ready for the home inspection.
Kind of head it off,
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to have a home inspection when you list your home. I don't recommend that.
I was going to say, do you recommend
Yeah,
I'm
no,
getting
I
ready
don't
to list my
recommend
house.
that.
Do I do that?
But there are a lot of things that you can do to get ready. Simple things.
So, and I think, when you think about a home inspection, you automatically think about a buyer. It's what the buyer does. But, we're going to talk about it from both standpoints. We're going to talk about how it's beneficial to a seller. And like Cindi said, we don't necessarily recommend doing it straight out of the gate, but we're also going to talk about what it looks like for a buyer.
There's a lot of common things that you see that show up on a lot of inspection reports that you actually can go ahead and take care of ahead of time. Things like clean your gutters out. So if your gutters haven't been cleaned in the last few months, just go ahead and get your gutters cleaned out. Downspouts, make sure that they're directed away from your home and you don't have, you have splash blocks so that the water is being directed away from the foundation. If you have any low spots around your home where water is gathering around the foundation, just go ahead and build up that dirt or that landscaping and slope that away from the house because that's something a home inspector is going to bring up.
Well, and I think the other thing too is let's talk a little bit about what a home inspector is. Is a home inspector going to be able to tell me if my roof is okay, or are they going to be able to tell me if my HVAC works? Or, Jack works with buyers on our team, so he's very, very familiar with the home inspection process and what that looks like. But I think sometimes we assume that a home inspector is kind of a one-stop shop. So what exactly is a home inspection?
A home inspector is just somebody that's going to give it a one-over. They're not a professional in any one specific field. They're going to give a general overview of the home. They're going to look at the roof, but they're not roofers.
And if they see something that concerns them, then
they're going to ask you to bring in another inspector. So they may say that the roof looks a little, worn and they have concern about it. So at that point, you may want to bring in a roofer to take a look at it and see how much life is left on your roof.
Well, and I think it's important to mention too that a home inspector's job is to find issues if there are issues. So it's very, very rare to have a home inspection that literally says nothing. Wouldn't you agree, Jack? I mean,
Yeah, it is. And the thing about it is, as a buyer, if the home inspector came back and said, "Oh, it's great, we didn't find anything wrong," do you feel deep down like they've done a quality job?
Right. I would question the quality of the inspection that you got if they didn't find anything.
I mean, I don't think I've ever, in almost 20 years of doing this with you, I don't think I've ever had a home inspection with nothing.
Because even if they don't have any repairs, they're probably going to have recommendations for the future.
Yeah.
Things that you might want to keep an eye on, things that you need to maintain.
And like we talked about, we're going to talk about a home inspection as a seller versus a buyer and how that breaks down for you. But, you know, it's also important to note that Tennessee is really what we call a buyer's due diligence state. It's the buyer's job. If they're concerned about something, it's your job as the buyer, if you're the buyer of the home, to investigate it. So that's where a home inspector is really kind of your guide. You know, and we're very cautious to point out that we're not home inspectors. That's not what we do. We walk you through the contract process, but just like our job is to help walk you through the contract process, a home inspector's job is to walk you through any repairs or concerns that you may
And
have.
in the Tennessee contract, you must use a licensed home inspector or someone licensed in the field that they are inspecting.
Can I inspect my house myself?
Actually, as a buyer, you can. I don't recommend it, but you actually, the buyer can. Now, the buyers...
So my dad can? My dad that used to build houses? That's my favorite.
No, the buyer or a licensed home inspector, and I do recommend that you get a licensed home inspector. And even on new construction, we're going to recommend a home inspection on any home. I mean, it's just good due diligence. I mean, worst case scenario, you're going to have somebody tell you that, you know, the home is wonderful. But again, they're also going to give you recommendations and possible upgrade ideas for the future.
Right. So the goal is to head any, you know, obviously huge red flags, problems that we need to address, but it's also not realistic to expect a home inspection to come back with 0 items on it.
No.
And I always prepare my sellers, you know, things are different.
But what you're looking for are things that have to actually do with the structure of the home, that the foundation,
Big
the
items,
integrity.
big things, yeah.
Yes. You don't want to ask them to straighten up the
I was gonna
electrical
ask,
outlets.
So as a buyer, we've had a home inspection. Can I come and ask them to redo something that I think maybe the work was done sloppily? It's not done wrong, but it's maybe
Depends
cosmetic.
on what cosmetic items. You cannot ask for cosmetic items. It is supposed to be no cosmetic items. Any cosmetic items should have been taken into consideration at the time of the offer, and anything that had been disclosed on the property condition disclosure should have been addressed in the purchase and sales agreement, or it was deemed accepted.
Reason 901 why you need a realtor.
So, but a home inspector, they're limited to what they're going to check too, because on the plumbing, I mean, they're going to run the water, they're going to check the toilets, they're going to check the dishwasher, but they're only there for a couple of hours, so they're not really going to be able to tell if you have septic tank issues if they've only been running the water a couple of hours.
And I have heard very frequently, actually, where people say, oh, and we bought this house and we had a home inspection and they missed XYZ. Again, their job is not to be your roofer. Their job is to say the roof looks functional or it doesn't. Or we recommend, you know, we laugh. Every single home inspection says we recommend that HVAC, right, Jack? What do they tell you?
Be serviced.
Every single one.
Be serviced.
Inspected and serviced, okay? So you also can't ask your seller to do your inspections. So if the home inspector says, have the HVAC inspected, the central heating and air unit, then we need to call a heating and air person and have them come and inspect that separately. So,
and they're also not going to look inside the walls. So they're going to check the electrical at the outlets. They're going to check it at the they're going to check it at the panel, but just know that they can't look in the actual walls. So again, home inspectors are just going to do, you know,
a general
overview of the entire house without actually, you know, really building the house.
Yeah, it's going to be non-destructive.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So lots to talk about today, like we talked about. I think the most important thing, or I think where we're going to start, is ways that we can kind of help you on the front end to make your life a little easier once your house is on the market. So if you're the seller
Yeah.
What kind of things can you do?
And also, just real quick, there are different types of inspections too. So yes, most people start with a home inspector, but you also have your radon test, which radon is just a gas that is released from the ground that comes up.
Are you seeing that? I feel like I'm seeing that more frequently now.
Yeah, we are, because in the Tennessee form, it's now pre-printed in the form, which brings, it has the buyers asking about it. So radon test is something that you can do, but if you choose not to do a home inspector, you can also hire people that are licensed in their field, like a roofer, plumber, electrician.
So I could just have a roofer come and look, and not a home inspector.
Yes, or if you're worried about the plumbing, if it's an older home and you want to know if the pipes have been changed, then you can always bring a plumber in too. That way you can also know what the cost is going to be to get the galvanized pipe removed. Or if a house has been sitting vacant, it's not a bad idea to bring a plumber in.
Yeah, and I have said, and I've heard you multiple times say, if you're concerned about it, let's have it looked at, because you're much better off to do that on the front end. And then
there's even people that do septic inspections, so they can take the top off of the septic tank and actually inspect the septic tank.
I am starting to see a little bit, I think, with relocation, people moving here from other areas too. Things that are common there are not necessarily common here. So we're seeing more radon tests, septic inspections, because part of other states' contracts include that as part of what has to be done. So, that is definitely more common in other areas. So,
and also you want to talk to more than one home inspector. They all charge different. And they are all very
services
different
they provide.
Yes. I would call more than one and talk to them to find out what they look for and what they do in their inspection. That way you're going to find
what's important
one.
to you is important to them.
Yes, because again, not all inspectors are the same. And if you would like a list of local inspectors, feel free to reach out to us at info@rg423.com. That's RG Richardson Group 423.com.
All right, guys, we're going to step away for just a minute so the radio station can pay a couple of bills this morning. But when we come back on Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody, we've got a lot more to talk about involving home inspections, things you can do to keep your regular maintenance upon your home as you go. But if you do have any questions about the topics we talk about today, 267-1023. She is Cindi Richardson. She is Jody Gatlin, and we'll be right back. Hello, everybody at home.
Hey, Sherry.
We're glad you're awake.
Another test that someone did the other day that kind of shocked me was they test the ceiling for asbestos. Have you had that? I was floored because the home was built in the 70s, so I wouldn't have thought that, and it come back positive that it had asbestos ceiling. Now I knew that the asbestos tiles, the little square ones like you see in the old homes, that's what that was, but I was really shocked to see a home from the 70s that had asbestos in popcorn ceiling.
Yeah, the actual particles that made popcorn up for asbestos.
I did not know that until the other day. And then there's
I'm going to need you to speak close to this because I'm struggling to get
to hear us.
a good audio wave.
This is Jesse. He's the man behind the screen.
Yes, Jesse's the man of the hour, the tower of power.
So we're going to start calling you Jesse.
I'm the fluffy cream filling that holds the golden Oreo together. Jesse is the tower of power.
Also, some other things. There's asbestos siding. So if you have asbestos siding, that's something to check.
I heard the fluffy cream, but I didn't hear
I am the fluffy cream filling that holds the golden Oreo together.
And you're the, what do you call you?
Sorry, we went from home inspections to creamy filling.
Hey, we got to, Jack's got to take a 2-second break. We're good. They understand. Sherry understands. Hey, Chad. I'm having headphone issues today. Y'all have to bear with me, okay? Y'all missed it right before we went on air. I broke my headphones, so I'm just thankful to have them.
I have them over here. This is what Jody did today.
Yeah, Cindi was fussing at me and telling me to pull it together, and I literally hit myself in the eyeball with half.
Sorry about that, Jesse.
I'm the reason we can't have nice things, apparently.
Do it right. They also offer on-demand water heating system installation. Let's face it,
what happened to the ball chairs at work? Every time somebody breaks something, I think about Emily falling out of that chair at work.
I
We
have no
bought those
idea.
round, like, exercise ball chairs. They sounded like a great idea. They're not, by
Jack,
the
you
way.
need
Don't
one
do
of
that.
those.
They're horrible. And we had
You and Brian, we want to see y'all on the exercise
They're
ball
supposed to be good
chairs.
for your core, but they hurt.
There's no doubt they have
They hurt. Well, Emily, we had an agent at the time hopped on hers underneath her desk and it shot out like a rocket, and she shoved her under. Were you there that day?
No, I was not
Literally
there.
shoved her underneath her desk.
No, I'm glad it wasn't me. Y'all would have been taking pictures, posting that.
Yeah. Oh, we used to toss them around the office.
Best selection of outdoor stocks anywhere. Carolina Hosier, Wigwam, and Realtor. You'll find dual fold and endurance.
All right, so guys, as you're watching the video, if you hear audio issues, let us know. We're still trying to work this out, getting plugged into all the systems here at the radio station. So if you have audio cutouts or anything like that, let us know so we can try and work on them, get them ready for next week.
And if you have any idea how to wear earphones on big hair, I'm really struggling with that.
Maybe go this way.
Maybe I should use your broke
You
ones.
need pods.
This feels a little Top Gun-ish.
The
pattern is full, Ghost Rider.
That's a negative, Ghost Rider.
You want to be Goose or Maverick?
Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
I thought I was
6
Iceman.
on Friday and Saturday.
That works.
Brainerd Army Store.
Are we going to talk about next? Are we going to talk about sellers and what they can do?
Never let you down.
Yes, yeah, maintenance and upgrades. Riveting, I know. Who else is on here? I see Chad. Who else is on there? Oh, that's probably you.
Chattanooga offers a well-stocked parts department that you can depend on. Keep your Kubota companion.
Oh,
running
Amy.
for
Hey,
years to
Amy.
come At Kubota of Chattanooga, 2628 Rossville Boulevard at I-24, or online at
hot. Is it hot in here?
KubotaChattanooga.com.
Hey, Jesse.
Talk Radio 102.3.
Here we go. Jesse said talk into the microphone.
I'm hot, Jesse.
Welcome back to Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody on Talk Radio 102.3. If you have real estate questions, call or text 267-1023. As always, we're live on Facebook this morning on the Richardson Group Facebook page, and you're welcome to ask questions there also. If you have a real estate question you would like to discuss off the air, call our office at 790-7979, and one of our realtors will be happy to walk you through any and all questions you have regarding real estate needs. All right, so last time we kind of covered why it's advantageous to you as a buyer to have a home inspection. Kind of a little bit on the seller side of what to kind of expect, what you can and can't negotiate, things like that. So what are some of the things that a seller can do to kind of prepare their home?
Well, we talked last week about how important first impressions are. And I think a lot of that really comes down to maintenance. And we use the words deferred maintenance, very common in our office. Think about the things that you know, every single person takes for granted. I mean, when's the last time you checked the threshold on a back door that you don't go out every single day? Or, you know, your landscape lights are out and you haven't replaced the bulbs.
Well, lights, period.
Yeah,
I can't
bulbs
tell you
are
how many
out.
times I have that a light fixture doesn't work on an inspection report and the seller tells me, oh, the bulb is just burnt out.
Right.
Go ahead and walk through your house and change any bulbs that need to be changed.
Bring a friend, somebody that doesn't see your house every single day, and say, you know, walk through my house and tell me what you notice. That's a good way. But I always like to point to your front door. I mean, that is truly, when a person looks at your house the first time, they're literally standing behind their realtor who is fiddling with a lockbox. And no matter how good we are, it takes a couple minutes to get the lockbox open. Well, what do you think the buyer's doing, Jack? Looking around. Yeah.
Look at the spider webs.
Yeah. So,
and like I said earlier, go ahead and clean your gutters because they're sitting there looking at your gutters.
entry doors, sidewalks, the pathway that people, you know, how many people are guilty of never using their front door?
And then,
You know, so walk up the sidewalk.
as a seller too, keep in mind that during the home inspection, they're going to be taking photos. So keep that in mind, and you do want to make sure that your home is clean that day because the seller will be seeing photos, and your lender or their lender quite possibly could be too. So just make sure that you do pick up that day and you're ready. And then if you have a basement, I know my unfinished basement is packed. You do need to pull everything away from the walls so that the inspector can take a look at the walls. Also in the garage, make sure they can get to any access panels, any windows, anything that might need to be looked at.
So it's okay if my basement's full of stuff. It
Yes.
just needs to be.
Yeah, just
cleared
make sure
away.
that they can get around in there. Make sure that they can do their inspection. Because if not, they're going to put that they need to come back. Also, your if you have a crawl space and you lock your access door, please make sure that your door is unlocked so that the inspector can go into your crawl space. If you have any debris or old wood in your crawl space, please go ahead and remove that.
Anywhere really. Your attic, your crawl
yeah.
space, your carport, wood stacked up is.
If you have any untreated wood, firewood, anything like that close to the home, that absolutely can be a termite magnet.
Well, and I've had several home inspections come back on some of my listings where even the landscaping was up against the home. And they specifically asked for that to be cut back. So we'll talk a little bit more about outside maintenance.
If you have any trees touching your
shrubs,
roof line,
bushes, anything like that.
you want to get that away. But you don't want to build up the landscaping or the mulch so much either that it's touching any wood siding. So you do want to be up around the brick, but don't get up to touching the wood siding because that also can be an issue. Other things that we see, if you have window screens that are torn, you can go ahead and have those rescreened. But when you start putting the house on the market, that's a good time to take a look at those, or just go ahead and take them down and disclose that they need to be rescreened and put them in your attic space. Attic space. If you have your mechanicals in your attic, like your central heat and air, anything up there that the inspector is going to need to get to, make sure they have clear access to the attic space so that they can get up there and do the inspection.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I think it's important, to start on the outside, walk through it, general maintenance items, thresholds, doors, pathways, lighted areas, anything that's broken, not operational, debris, shrubbery, and then literally use that same mindset. We talked about gutters. We talked about even if you have a storage unit outside, anything like that. Garage doors are a huge one.
Make sure that your garage door is opening and closing properly. Make sure that your safety
mechanism
is working. So if the little light is not working, so that if an animal or child runs under it, that it stops the garage door from going up and down, then you may want to go ahead and get that repaired before your home inspection, because they are going to check that.
So you want to make sure all exterior doors open and close, all your thresholds are intact. Another thing that's going to come up, not necessarily, it'll get mentioned on a home inspection, but kind of along the same lines is peeling paint. If you have anything, if your window sills, your door thresholds, your shutters, anything porch post has peeling paint, it comes back to bite you. So while you're at it, you might as well do that as well. So all interior and exterior doors, screens, all your windows need to be operational.
Right. I was going to say that. So they are going to open every one of your windows, and I can tell you that.
And it needs to stay open. That was one too.
Open your window and look at the little ledge. I think you'll be shocked at how much dust gathers in those. Probably a good idea, if everybody's going to be taking pictures and open your windows, go ahead and just use your vacuum cleaner attachment and clean that out and be ready for them to take a look at it.
So we want all the windows to open. We want the windows to stay open. Especially if you have an older home or a home with wood windows that have been painted. A lot of times they'll be painted closed. That's something that we need to make sure is operational.
If you have a fireplace, if it is wood burning, if you have not had your chimney cleaned in a long time, you may want to go ahead and do that so that you will have that report for a buyer. Or if you have gas logs, make sure that your pilot light is lit and you're ready for them to turn them on to inspect it. If they don't work because you don't have a propane tank or it's not hooked up to gas, then again, that's something you need to disclose ahead of time, because as a seller, you do need to have everything in your home in operating condition for the home inspector. So that would include the fireplace. Also, if you have a swimming pool, even in the winter, it needs to be open and ready for a home inspection.
I mean, if at all possible, if you're listing your house, I want your pool open, unless it's frozen and we can't do it.
Right.
So,
even if it's February, though, it does need to be opened for the inspection.
Yeah. You can't expect somebody to buy something that they can't inspect. And
Correct.
We run into that a lot. We're going to talk a little bit later on in the show about winterization and getting your house ready and protecting yourself, especially if you're not there, if you've moved. But that is something important to note, that you have to turn those things back on. You gotta make it where it's operational for them to do their home inspection.
And prior to listing or the home inspection, if you have a smart home and there's things that you don't want to leave with the home, like your Ring doorbell or your Nest thermostat or anything like that, go ahead and remove those ahead of time. Preferably before you even have it on the market. That way it doesn't become an issue during the inspections and everything.
Yeah. And, just like we talked about, doors, windows, we talked about your garage door briefly, but garage doors are a big one. They get, they get inspected more times than not. They don't, the mechanism doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. We've had a few actually have some pretty major issues during home inspections, and that's something that's easy to head off on the front end. You literally just put something into the pathway of the garage door and it should stop and go back up. On the same token, make sure that the track is clear and it's clean and that it opens smoothly and closes smoothly and works the way that it's supposed to, and that your garage door is in good condition on the outside. If your wife, which I've been guilty, has dinged the garage door, it might be a good time to have that repaired.
And did you know they can replace just the one panel that you actually hit? They
I
don't
did.
have to replace
Don't
the
ask
whole
how
garage
I know
door.
that, but yes, I didn't know that. I was very thankful.
Or if you're not going to replace the garage door, again, disclose it on the property condition disclosure so that it's not coming back during a home inspection. If you have already disclosed it, then they're aware of that going into the home inspection.
Well, we talked just a little bit last time about a really good way to snazz up your house is to add some fake hardware to your garage door. Some magnetic hardware is a really good way to do that, to help with curb appeal.
Guys, we're going to step away and take a quick break, pay a couple of bills. When we get back on the Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody, we've still got a lot more to talk about getting your home ready for winter, ways to keep your home warm during the winter, especially if you live in an older home. You listen to Talk Radio 102.3, Cindi and Jody. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
What's up, Ashley?
Hey, Ashley. And again, if anybody wants a list of people that can take a look at your garage door, do any type of maintenance, or even go ahead and service your central heat and air unit, just shoot us an email or a text and we can get that over to you. So again, you can send that to info@rg423.com.
Great time? I know you.
So,
I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer
I know
screening
most
medicine
people
for
don't
45+ at average risk.
service
It
their
sounds
air
like you take
conditioning
care of
units
yourself.
as often as they should. I think we're all guilty of
For colon cancer.
calling the repair guy when it's not working.
We need to talk about that a little bit too when we come back, because I've got a couple going on right now. That's
And is used at home.
an issue on.
Hey, I got
Name
one more
or stool for
Huh?
92% of colon cancers. 92%? Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study
I'm having
with
a heat
patients
stroke.
50 and older. Any positive
Jesse.
results should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and negative results may
And if you're trying to get your gas log serviced, I have been trying to get my
Good luck.
gas log. Yeah, I've been trying to get mine serviced for a couple of weeks now, and apparently the
Sorry, I'm
Southern
having a
Hearth is backed up like 3 weeks. So if anybody has a different company they use, feel free to shoot me a message. I would love to have. I only have 2 on our list for gas logs.
It's unbelievable to me how everything is backed up. Like,
Yeah.
we went furniture shopping yesterday, nothing. Like, you can't get anything. I think like the end of January for anything. If you need a home inspection or a perk test or anything, it's like you better just
Getting a
put.
perk test now.
Perk test is horrible.
I
Somebody
did
told
have one
me-
the other day with some random person. I've never heard their name before, but I got the name. and phone
Somebody
number.
told me that a perk test right now that is backed up until one that a lot of people use is
So-
backed up until May.
Kids, if you would like a good career, go into
Yes.
surveying, appraisal,
scientist.
and a soil scientist.
Yes.
Telling
you're
you, you
guaranteed
can
to-
name your price
yes.
and just Do it when you can do it, because there's none of you, and we'll wait on you.
Especially the soil scientists.
Yeah, the soil scientist, that's big.
No, I got one the other day with a soil scientist I've never heard of. And I was like, oh, so I saved the name and phone number because we need
I have
somebody
a whole
else.
list of everybody in the state. And we've had several people calling from Knoxville and stuff trying to get people that are not as backed up. But did you know that Polk County hired a soil scientist for the county for its residents? I thought that was pretty amazing. I wish some of the other counties
I bet
would
it
follow
may have had
suit.
something to do with that municipal sewer. Because, you know, they have to do it
Probably
every
right.
single...
You're right. But it also was a huge benefit to the residents of that county because, I mean, they have a soil
That
scientist.
is a cool... Have you ever thought about living in Polk County, Tennessee?
It's beautiful. The
Polk
views
County
are
has
beautiful.
sewer.
Jack's over here. Yeah.
Polk
And
County has
high-speed
sewer.
You
internet.
have high-speed internet, and literally you have
Who would've thought
municipal
that?
sewer
Bradley
in the
County
middle of
doesn't even have
Egypt.
that.
Yeah.
So...
And you got Lake Ocoee, the Hiwassee.
National and international news from ABC.
That's what somebody was saying, to post a picture of the area on a Facebook thing to show what area you're in.
Sorry, I got sidetracked. Jesse looks like he's got Saturday Night Live going in there. Jesse, our producer's got the strobe lights going. That was funny.
Welcome back to Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody on Talk Radio 102.3. If you have a real estate question, call or text 267-1023, and we'll take care of that on the air for you today. As always, we're live on Facebook, on the Richardson Group Facebook page, and you guys are welcome to ask questions there if you're watching. If you happen to have a question about real estate that you would like to discuss off the air, give us a call at our office, 790-7979, and one of our realtors will be happy to walk you through any of your real estate needs that you happen to have.
So when we left, we just were talking about central heating and air over the break a little bit, and that's actually a really good one. I've got two right now. You know, I'm a listing agent on our team, and I deal with sellers, and I actually have two. Hey, Angel. Angel's watching us on Facebook Live. Actually, with her, I have a deal with her right now where we're waiting on the HVAC to be serviced because of an issue. So this time of year, especially whenever temperatures start to change, that's when you're going to start to see problems. So you didn't notice that anything was wrong until it got cold and you had to turn the heat on, and then all of a sudden something's not working right. So that's a really good on both sides of the coin. If you're the seller, go ahead and have your HVAC person, and then just as good measure, once you own the home, schedule it once a year. We're all guilty of not doing that. Don't admittedly have central heating and air investigated the way or inspected the way that it should be, but that can save you a lot of trouble and headache later on down the road.
And if you feel like your home is just not getting warm enough, it could be that your unit is in need of some repairs.
And sometimes it's just cleaning it. I mean, I've seen some disgusting central heating and air units that you wouldn't know that was a problem, especially if you have pets or you live in an older home. Sometimes just having the unit serviced and cleaned.
And
is
something
a good
else we
place to
see
start.
come up on inspections is if your unit is unlevel, because I mean the soil around your home over time is going to settle. So if your unit is unlevel, then you need to talk to a repair person about leveling it up.
You just made me
that's not
think
good
about
for
it
the unit.
too. The drain off your unit. If you go outside and look, typically your unit is sitting on a concrete slab. If that slab is tilted, that's something you need to talk to somebody about. But also I just totally had a mind condensation line, yes, on the unit. Literally runs the condensation from the unit away from your home. Even more important if that unit is sitting in your attic or in your crawl
or in your
space.
basement even. Go ahead and clean that condensation line out at least once a year. You want to pour bleach down it and let it just clean it out good so that you don't come in and have a wet area one day.
And even if your unit's outside, it's very, very easy to miss that you have an issue, but then you end up with a giant, if you walk out and look at your unit and you have a big muddy pond surrounding it, very well could be that. So HVAC good for a seller, also good for a buyer.
And you know what? If you do it out of season, so like if you're getting your units serviced in April, you're going to get somebody out there a whole lot quicker than you are, this time of year when everybody's turning their heat on and discovering it's not working. There's a lot of people calling doing that. So you're going to get in, a waiting line. Yeah. But let's talk about buyers. So as a buyer, if you're under contract, you have an inspection period, most likely, unless you're just buying it without an inspection period. So if you're just using the standard Tennessee form, you have 3 options after having your home inspection. 1, to accept the property as is. 2 is to terminate an agreement and walk away from the deal, and that's going to be if you find something that just really scares you or is extremely expensive that you don't want to get into, or that a seller just says they're not willing to fix. The third option is the option that most people use, and that's that you go into the negotiating period. So you're going to negotiate for how many days that are in your contract, back and forth until you come to a mutual agreement on items that need to be repaired.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, if I'm the buyer, I can do the home inspection, take it with all its warts and say I feel okay about it. I can. Do I have to tell you while I'm walking away if I decide I want to walk away?
Yes. The seller does have the right to the reason and supporting documents.
So I think the way it's worded is I have to provide you, Jackie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, with a list of objections, correct?
Yes, correct.
And say, no thanks, I'm scared. Or I can give you 1, 2, and 3 and ask you
I've
to
never
repair
seen
it.
a house with an item that's not repairable. And now it may
Whether or not
cost,
they're willing to
correct,
do so, yes.
Correct. And it's all, people have different levels of handy. So what scares one person may not scare the next person. Typically, your big ticket item is going to be if you have foundation problems. If you get into foundation problems, you are typically getting into, that's going to be your money.
Hefty money. Well, and if I'm the buyer, if I want a certain person to do the repairs, could I ask for money instead of asking a
It's going to
seller?
depend on what the repair is and your type of loan and everything, if the loan would actually call for it to be done. But a lot of times that's a good idea, because then you can, if you get a repair credit in lieu of the seller doing the repairs, you can control who does the repairs. And if you want to throw a little more money at it and do a little more than what the seller would have done.
Something additional that makes you feel good about it.
And then things that you need to think about too, as a buyer, is it's laid out in the contract as to what you can ask for and what you cannot. So we've discussed this before. Is cosmetic items should have already been taken into consideration. So you don't need to put cosmetic items on the report. And if you're putting a bunch of little items like straightening, outlet covers, things that don't amount to much, then it's going to be harder to negotiate with that seller on the big ticket items.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, Cindy. I'm sorry, but go back to where we are as a market. Last week we talked about how difficult it is to get a house. So you've made it to the point where you've got the house. There's probably a really high likelihood that there's somebody sitting in a backup position waiting for it. So if you furnish my seller with a list of 28 items and they're all fixed switch plate covers, you better feel really strongly about switch plate covers, because if
Kind
if
of the
we kill
rule of
deal.
thumb for us is if an item is under $100 per item, then you really need to think about it before you put it on there, because you're distracting away from the bigger items that need to be addressed when you're going after just some of these little things like, leveling up a closet door or something that you very easily can do that is just going to be part of maintenance and a home ownership.
And my advice is always, if you feel strongly enough about it that you would walk away and feel okay if you lost the house over it, then by all means, you have the right to do that. But if you lost this home over closet doors that rubbed, and you would be heartbroken, maybe not. And I'll say it again, another reason to use a realtor. So, we can help you muddle through that process as well, for sure.
And then on your home inspection report, they are going to have different levels of things. They're going to tell you about things that are going to need repairs in the future that may not necessarily need it now, but may need it in the future. Then they're going to have recommended repairs, and that is going to be the items that you need to be taking a look at. Those are things that are in need of repair right now. And then they're just going to have upgrade recommendations for later. So don't ask a seller to do an upgrade just because it's something the inspectors tells you might be a good idea for later and something for you to think about. You want to focus on the items that need to be repaired.
I agree, and I think the biggest thing is a lot of times when you deal with older homes, especially in this area, the first thing that always pops up is the infamous GFCI.
Yes.
Yeah.
this home does not have GFCI.
That brings up a very good
I was
point
just-
too.
yeah.
Is the contract actually states that you can't ask them to bring it up to current building code as long as it met code when it was built.
That's a big one. Say that again, Cindy.
Yeah, you cannot ask them to bring it up to current building codes as long as the home met code at the time that it was built. Now, if it is a safety issue, that's going to be a different story. But you can't ask them to bring it up to current code. Kind of like a current code is your garage door has to have a spring in it that actually closes now. So that is something that went into effect, 7-8 years ago?
She means actually literally the door
garage door,
coming from the
yes.
house into
the
the garage
garage.
has to be spring loaded so it closes on itself. And I'm just going to say, when you live in a home with a door that's what you hate it. Because when you have an armful of groceries or a toddler or whatever you're doing, the stinking garage door just closes itself back.
Yes,
you
but
know?
let's talk about Jody. How many times have people left their car running, and especially
It's
these
a safety
people
issue, yeah.
that have just the little push button? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a reason.
Yeah.
And
But
the
so-
reason I pointed out is it's not something people love, but I can't go into a house that was built in 1975
And
say
expect it to have it.
you have
Correct.
to do that. You know,
Right.
You can ask for anything, but you can't require. And I do hear that, and I hate to say it this way, but when you get the person that brings a friend or a builder or whomever to their home inspection, it can't be that person. It has to be a licensed home inspector or yourself.
And your home inspectors are going to know what you can and cannot ask for, and you want to ask questions. So ask your home inspector when they say that something needs repair. Ask more questions about it. That's what you're paying them for, is to educate you on the condition of the home.
That brings up. So, do you recommend for me to be there? You know, how long is a home inspection? And do I need
And
to
a
be
home
there?
inspection can be anywhere. I've seen them anywhere from 2 hours is typical. I've seen them as much as 4 or 5 hours, depending on the size of the home. I don't recommend that you're there for the whole inspection. Give the inspector time to do his job. So let the inspector get there and do their job, and without you following them around and slowing them down, and then get there toward the end of the inspection or the last hour, last 30 minutes, and let them go over the report with you while they're at the house. That way they can walk you around, and if you have any questions or concerns, they can talk about it then.
I think sometimes they can help make you feel better too, because
They're going to point out the good and
yeah,
the bad.
if you just see something on a report, it's pretty
And
you
a
know,
photo. Don't
yeah.
forget, they will be taking photos.
pretty scary. But if they can walk you through what it would really entail to repair it, it can help make you feel better about
Right,
it, or it can
right.
make you know to walk away
Right.
for sure.
And I think a big important thing to remember is a lot of things are going to be subject to what the weather is like when they're actually doing the home inspection.
That's very true.
If you're worried about a wet basement, you probably need to go when it's raining.
Yeah, I mean, the best time to take a look at a house is in the rain anyway, because if it has any type of leaks, you're going to be able to see them, or it has water drainage issues on the lot, anything like that. Those things are going to be really present and right in front of your face when you look at it.
Right.
All right, guys, we're going to step away and take a quick break. When we come back on Real Estate Today with Cindi Jody, we're actually going to get into some prep you can do to get your home ready for the winter so that you can stay warm. We'll be right back. Thank you.
What's up, Ben?
Chattanooga listens to us.
Where's our notes on what?
Check in several times a day for the latest.
I listen in my car. I listen at work.
Don't miss a minute.
Talk Radio 102.3 WGOW FM.
There's a silent epidemic of suicide, but we're Tennessee, and we won't be
Second page of the
silent.
first
It
one.
just breaks my heart when someone I know is struggling. I can't be silent about it anymore.
Suicide is preventable. Go to TennesseeWon'tBeSilent.com
I got it.
for
Then I've
education
got a couple
and
things on
resources.
We probably need to put numbers on these in the future. Page numbers.
TennesseeWon'tBeSilent.com.
Brought to you by the
True,
Joseph
yes, and I will going forward. Yeah. It's just the flip side of
Podcasters in this station.
Christmas time, and more people are discovering
There is no
terrific
flow to the
value
show.
of work and coat.
There is no way.
We show up and have
Right
fun,
around
and
the
that's it.
store. First, quality coats and coveralls for adults. Pants and shirts that never seem to wear out. Always the best.
I'll tell you another reason to have a home inspection on a new construction home. I just did a home that was 5 years old, and they bought it from the builder, no home inspection. It was bought on a lease to own, no home inspection. That person, because they bought it on a lease to own, because because the couple was getting divorced from the first time, they had to turn around and sell it to her, again, no home inspection. So I have technically the third owner for the home 5 years after it was built, and the home inspector found out that they never reconnected the bathtubs to the main plumbing system in the home. So for 5 years, every time you use the bathtub, the water just flowed down into the crawl space.
I had that happen on one.
Yeah.
That is amazing. How does it pass its final CO without the bathroom tub being
What they
hooked up?
do, because what they do is they look at the pressure test for the plumbing system, because to pressure test it, you have to cut the plumbing line from the bathtubs, cap them. Then they air test everything,
Then they go back
pass,
and
and
hook
it
it up.
passes. Then they can hook it back up. Well, they never went back in and hooked it up. So they had to have it hooked up.
I had the exact same thing happen on a house, and thank goodness it was somebody that mostly used the master bathroom, so the hall bath is where it was not connected, so there was not damage under the house.
Yeah, this one was
that could have been very bad.
Want to learn the fastest
Let's
and
see.
safest
Everybody
way you can grow
loves.
your nest
I had
today?
one in Decatur.
Don't miss Plan for
They
Everything.
had actually
This
built the
Sunday
house
morning
back in the
at
30s,
on the Talk Monster.
had lifted the house in probably about the 50s, but they used some hillbilly concrete method to actually lift it.
Wow.
So when we looked at the house, on the back corner of the house, one of the downspouts was actually kicked out from the top of the house, probably about 3 feet from the top of the house. And what it was, where it went into the ground for the French drain, the foundation wall was kicking back into the house, into the crawl space.
Wow.
So they had to go in, and I think it was about a $26,000 repair. Just
Foundation
to
is,
shore the wall up.
Foundation repairs, you're usually going to get in 5 digits. I mean, $10,000 for foundation repair by a professional company is a good price. So there are a couple of companies in town that will try to price gouge, but foundation is going to be your most expensive issue.
Seemed awfully aggressive, Jack. I'm sorry. I walked up and slapped Jack out of my chair. I didn't mean to. You know I love you.
Are we back?
Welcome back to Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody on Talk Radio 102.3. If you guys happen to have questions for anything we've talked about on the show, call or text us 267-1023. As always, we're live on Facebook this morning on the Richardson Group Facebook page, and you're welcome to ask any questions there. If you happen to have something that you'd like to discuss off the air, give us a call at our office, 790-7979, and one of our realtors will be happy to walk you through any of your real estate needs.
One inspection real quick before we get into the things you can do that we didn't mention was your termite inspection. So your termite inspection, your company is not only going to be checking for termites, they're going to be looking for mold, mildew, fungus, any type of wood destroying organisms.
That's scary. That's a scary one for people
Yeah.
too. And I don't know if it's the weather or what, but I've gotten several in the last couple weeks that had live termites, and that's one of those things that sometimes you don't realize you have until it's too late. So again, untreated wood, firewood's
Or
a big
wood
one.
that gets wet over a period of time. That
You have
is
wood
a
piles,
good breeding
burn
ground.
piles, yeah. So that's why it's really important to get those things out and away from your house prior to anything, for sure.
Yeah, and I think the big thing to mention about all the things we've talked about, you know, we talk about it with us from the context of getting ready to sell your home. A lot of these are things that are consistent yearly maintenance.
Yeah.
It's part of being a homeowner. If you see rotting wood on an eave or rotting wood on a door frame, I hate to tell you, the wood's not going to magically regrow itself back to the way it was when they built the house.
It's
It's
only
going
gonna
to
get-
need to be fixed.
Yeah, more
Well,
difficult,
again,
more
if you
expensive.
maintain it, when you start seeing that paint look thin, if you repaint it then you're not going to get into the wood rot. But it's when the exposed wood with no paint on it stays there for a long period of time, that's when you start to see the wood rot.
Yeah, and I know most people are very content to just go ahead and paint over rotted wood.
Yeah, that don't work so well.
No, it doesn't. So I know we are fortunate here in this area. You know, we have fairly mild falls. We have fairly mild winters. They are wet. But then we do have about a 2-month stretch where we do get really cold, and we're kind of coming up on that in January, February, and the first part of March are going to be our coldest months. I think the big thing for a lot of people right now is getting your home ready for winter. What do you need to do? And what is that going to look like? Is it going to be super expensive? It can be, depending on what condition your home is in at the current moment. If you are someone that does regular yearly maintenance and you're out there with the green thumb working in the yard, a lot of those things are going to be cut back. So you're not having to rush to get them done, because like we've kind of found out from having to have work done on homes, everybody's backed up.
Yes. Yeah, if you've not had your heat and air serviced right now, you're going to go on a wait list.
And especially if you're not in that house, okay, guys? If you're moving out and we're going to sell your home, we are very diligent, I think more so than most, about vacant homes. But even, best laid plans, if you've not winterized or taken care of things, we're not checking exterior faucets and making sure that your, heating and air is working the way that it's supposed to, and those sort of things, you very likely could end up with a burst pipe.
Well, and talking about the exterior faucets, you want to go ahead and disconnect your hose and put a cap on the exterior faucets before we hit freezing temperatures. If you have your hose hooked up and we get into the freezing weather, that's when you're more likely to have a faucet that's going to freeze. And once that starts to melt, you're going to see it come in on the inside of the house, on the back side of where that faucet is. So a lot of times, especially if it's on the front of the house, you won't know it until you see the big wet spot show up in the dining room or in the foyer, whatever's on the inside of the house right there.
And now is also when you're going to start to see the pest issues. So, like she talked about, if termites are going to decide to come, if you're going to get a bug problem or, heaven forbid, rodent problem, anything like that, right now is when you're going to start to see that. So probably a good idea, like Jack said, just as general maintenance, outside of a buyer inspection, a good idea to just have, that central heating and air looked at, things winterized, call the pest control company, go ahead and have a termite inspection, because those are things that, whether or not your house sold or not, you need to be doing anyway. This is just a good catalyst to get you started doing it.
Right. And go ahead and have your fireplace checked, your gas logs.
I did think when you were talking about home inspections, Cindy, it made me think of another one that we used to see a lot that we don't as much, but especially this time of year, is carbon monoxide.
Yes.
That'll be something that you may see on your home inspection as well, especially when we start dealing with heat and gas heat and those sort of things. And again, we can walk you through all of that. So any of the stuff that we talk about, if you guys have questions, you can always reach out to any of us on air, 267-1023, or at our office, 423-790-7979, or at info at rg423.com.
And then insulation. So right now, as we get into the really cold weather, there are companies, and some of the utility companies will actually come out to your home and do a check for you and see if there's things that you can do.
EPB does. I believe Cleveland Utilities in Cleveland will.
Yes. Yes. So that is a free service that they offer, that they come out and they evaluate your home and they let you know if you need to add additional insulation or if there's other little things that you can do to help better insulate the home.
Good information, guys. I'm telling you, lots to think about. Makes me want to go home and get to work.
There is. I think we could probably do 3 more radio shows about this.
For real. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Oh, it has. Thanks so much, guys. And hope you guys tune in next week to
Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody.
She is Cindi Richardson. She is Jody Gatlin. We hope you guys have a blessed week, and we will talk to you guys next weekend.
Thanks so much. I'm going to, let's see. Hey, Pam.
Bye.
What are we talking about?
Jack, I can't turn us off. Sorry, guys.